Welcome to Hartman Math. This is lesson 2.5. We're back to graphing. Graphing from standard form, which we did a couple lessons ago, where we started by taking our function and factoring it to put it into intercept form, plot the x-intercepts, draw the axis, plug that in, all those things. But what happens, and here's our standard form, f of x equals ax squared plus bx plus c. No parentheses out here on the right. What happens if we can't factor this? Like if we tried, say, all right, I got my two sets of parentheses. I got x and x. What are my factors for positive 6? I got 1 and 6. But if we do outside inside on 1 and 6, we're going to get 7x. Okay, well maybe it's 2 and 3. But if I do that, I'm going to get 5x. I can't get 4x. It's not factorable by our normal techniques. So as it's not factorable, we have to have another process if we can't get it to find those x-intercepts easily. So what we're going to do is go straight from standard form and start with the equation or the formula for the axis of symmetry because it's not factorable. So number one, here's our formula. X for the axis of symmetry is the opposite of b divided by 2a. So b is the coefficient of x. It is positive 4. So we think of what's the opposite of positive 4. On top we've got negative 4. Divide by 2 times. The a is the number in front of x squared. We don't see it visible here, so it's going to be an invisible 1. So negative 4 divided by 2 times 1. We'll do the multiplication here first. As below, up, above, or below fraction bars, acts as if parentheses to indicate do that first. So this is 2. Negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2. That's our axis of symmetry as an equation. You might be asked for that. It's x equals negative 2, and we can draw it. And if you were doing a table, we could put negative 2 as the middle of x. And as we saw before, when we know the x and we want to get the f of x, we're just going to plug it in. We're going to replace all the x's with negative 2. Careful, especially with those negatives, you really need to use parentheses. Here's where it's a good idea to now type this into a calculator. Parentheses, negative 2, parentheses, raised to the second power, plus 4, parentheses, negative 2, plus 6. Okay. And if you want to also just kind of do it mentally and make sure they match each other, we got 4 minus 8 plus 6. We should get positive 2. So that plots our vertex. If we're listing vertex, list it as, here's our ordered pair, parentheses, comma, parentheses, negative 2, comma, 2. We can then go right around negative 2, like negative 1 and 0, and negative 3 and negative 4, or we could do the pattern of the odds, which is based on the leading coefficient being 1. So if we're multiplying our odd numbers by 1, they're not going to change. It's just the odd numbers. Write 1 up the first odd number is 1. Write 1 up the second odd number is 1, 2, 3. Up 3. We need 5 points. There they are. Draw our parabola. Put arrows. There it is. Example number 2, let's just continue to practice with this. Again, we could try to factor. It does have a GCF. That may not necessarily help us with the intercepts. We can go ahead and try that. We would essentially get negative 2, and I like factoring out the negative. That's definitely helpful. Times x squared. And if I take out negative 2 times what makes positive 12? That would be negative 6x plus 7. So if we were going to continue to factor x and x, not a whole lot of ways to make positive 7. It's either got to be 1 and 7 or negative 1 and negative 7. So we'd have to say negative 1, negative 7. But we're going to get outside negative 7x. 1x inside negative 1x. That makes negative 8x. It didn't work. We're not going to be able to find our x-intercepts by that process. So that's where we're going to use x is opposite of b divided by a. So opposite, here's our b. Opposite would be negative 12 divided by 2 times, there's our a. Now, what's 2 times negative 2? Negative 4. What's negative 12 divided by negative 4? Negative divided by negative is a positive. So we get x is 3, draw it. Middle x. Plug it in. Right there and there. Once again, we go to the calculator. Negative 2, parentheses, 3 squared, plus 12 times 3 minus 14. Hit equals. You should get 4. Just to double check. 3 squared, you have to do the exponent first, is 9. Times negative 2 is negative 18. 12 times 3 is 36, so we got negative 18 plus 36 minus 4. That brings us to minus 14, brings us to 4. There we go. We can fill out the table, and we do the pattern of the odds. Write 1. First odd number is 1. Multiply it by a. So 1 times negative 2 is negative 2. Negative means we should go down. Write 1, down 2. Write 1, down. Oh, what's the second odd number? 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. We're going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We've got our 5 points. Graph the parabola. All right, here's a your turn. Go ahead and pause the video here. Work through. Definitely with the 1/2 there, it would make factoring really, really difficult. You might just want to jump straight to find the axis of symmetry using that formula. X is the opposite of b divided by 2a. Jump right into it. Go ahead and get your 5 points. Hit play when you're ready to check. Here's our formula. What is the opposite of negative 2? That's what's going to go on top. The opposite of negative 2 is positive 2. And this looks complicated, but it really isn't. 2 times a half. Well, what's half of 2? It's 1. 2 times a half is 1. So we got positive 2 divided by 1. And that's going to make 2 as our axis of symmetry. X equals 2 as the equation. Again, probably easiest to get the rest of the points once we get our y coordinate. Let's do the pattern of the odds. We do got to get the y coordinate, so we're going to plug it in. 1/2 times, and when you're doing on the calculator, you might just want to do 0.5 times 2 squared minus 2 times 2 plus 1. So do that on the calculator first. As you're doing that, let's just kind of do it mentally and then see if they agree. 2 squared, have to do the exponent first. 2 squared is 4. Half of 4 is 2. Subtract 4, so that's negative 2. Add 1, then we got negative 1. Now, let's do the pattern of the odds. Write 1 up. First odd number is 1. Got to multiply it by a half or 0.5. We get a half or 0.5, so up a half. Write 1 up. Second odd number is 3 times a half or times 0.5. You get 1.5, so 1.5. Write 1 up. 1 and a half. Puts us right here. And then we can kind of check. You might be asked for the y-intercept. Remember, in standard form, the c value gives you the y-intercept being 0, 1. And we did see that on our graph. So if we missed that point, we could see that there would be an error. That's somewhere to fix that. And before we leave, let's do a little bit of solve by factoring practice. This is your turn, so pause the video here. Go ahead and work through, get your solution or solutions, each one. Come back when you're ready. All right, first one. It is ready. Two-factor. There is no GCF. Check that first. Two sets of parentheses. Don't forget your equal sign. How do we make the x squared? X and x. We've got options for positive 22 as being 1 and 22, or 2 and 11. I think that's it. I don't think I'm going to go with the positives, though, as I'm trying to make a middle term that's negative. I think this might be the 1. Minus 2, minus 11. Let's check it. Outside, negative 11x. Inside, negative 2x. Makes our negative 13x. We've got our winner. Split. X equals 2. X equals 11. Let's box our answers. How about part B? It's not ready. It needs to be 0. Fastest way would be this, but if we subtract 3x squared, over here, we're going to get negative 3x squared. We don't want the negative. So let's keep that there. Let's move these over. Let's go subtract the 13x both sides. So we got 3x squared minus 13x. Let's subtract a 10 on both sides. Now we're ready. How do we make 3x squared? 3x and x. What about the negative 10? All right, we have positive 1, negative 10. Positive 2, negative 5. Maybe it's this one. Okay, maybe it's positive 2, negative 5. We go outside, we got 6x minus 5x. No, that's not close. Maybe we could switch sides, because the fronts are different. So switch the 2 and the 5. Now we're close. 15x minus 2x is 13x, but we want negative 13x. So it just tells us that our signs are wrong. So we'll change that one, change that one. There's our factor. We can check again. Negative 15x plus 2x is negative 13x. Split. Solve. Subtract 2 both sides. Divide by 3. Add a 5. Got our solutions. And that's it for today. See you next time.